Let's get into it. Soul Not For Sale podcast. We got Joe Rogan and Evan Haffer. If you don't know who that is, he is a special forces vet and he is the CEO of Black Rifle Coffee, that coffee brand that Joe Rogan's always drinking. He's always talking about. This is the CEO that you're about to see. And this guy brings out the absolute best in Joe Rogan. You'll see what I mean in just a few seconds. They touch on the Bill of Rights. They touch on being self-sufficient as an American citizen. They touch on being prepared. They touch on surveillance. They touch on privacy. They touch on a lot of very important things. But most of all, Joe Rogan has a very stern warning for the people of America. You'll see what that is right now. Let's get into this clip. That's IamCoachColin.com. Hit that up for all your Soul Not For Sale needs. Let's get into this clip.
Like that. I like it when I see that stuff.
Well, it is a good thing to know. You know, Mike Glover's great at that, which got him labeled a terrorist.
I think...
He's fucking explaining to people how to prepare in case things go sideways, and they're like, you are a problematic individual.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened. Well, I do know how that happens.
How did it happen?
I think you have a bunch of people within the federal government that have a political agenda and or they don't understand. They see any and everyone in the country that owns a firearm as some type of, threat at some point. And they have to be what I would say is familiar with all aspects of America. They have to really understand, like, hey, there's a group of people out there that prepare for the worst, hope for the best. That's what they do. And they're really into it. And just because they're going to the range with a group of friends and they're preparing doesn't make them domestic terrorists. It just makes them prepared.
Yeah. And here's the thing that I think people should put in their heads. Does everybody remember? I'm going to speak to people that live in Los Angeles because this is where it gets rare. Does everybody remember the lines outside the gun stores? Do you remember during the riots, there was lines outside the gun stores? Yeah. Listen to me, kids. Keep that energy. Keep that energy because that didn't go away forever.
No.
That was just a couple of years ago. And the weirdness of life, the weirdness of the way the world works, some shit could pop off anywhere and everywhere. That's real. That's a real possibility. We all saw what just happened in Israel. It's a real possibility that some shit could pop off. And to bury your head in the sand and pretend that that's not possible, that doesn't help anybody. That doesn't help anybody. And to prepare, why is preparing bad?
Do you think that's do you think it's part of the cultural differences between people, like just in general, between like red and blue and people? They're what I would say is the question is there's people that are really individual. They want to take accountability, and there's other people that are like, I want to bury my head in the sand.
And I want the government to take care of it.
Yeah. Do you think that's part of it?
It's part of it, but there's also there's a weird denial of possibility that comes along with not wanting preparedness. And it's one of the rare times when I look at someone like Mike Glover being labeled a terrorist, it's one of the rare times I go, well, there might actually be a conspiracy to keep people weak.
Yeah.
They might want to look at people like that as resistance to authoritarianism, and they want to squash that. It's one of the rare times where I don't look at it objectively. I look at decisions like that and go, oh, you like weak people. You only want weak people. You don't want people to challenge you once you get into power. You don't want people to say, hey, that's against the law, or hey, this is not the way we're supposed to be operating. You want people to just comply. And when no one's armed, people comply. And when everyone's armed, it's really hard to get people to comply, especially if they're kind of in agreement. If there's a large percentage of us that are in agreement, no, you can't listen to all my phone calls.
Right.
Like, you're just a person.
Yeah.
Whether you work for whatever fucking agency, if I'm a guy who works at a tire shop who doesn't do anything wrong and you want to listen to all my phone calls, what? You're just a person. What you should be, look, if you find a guy who you know is fucking wearing a suicide vest, is about to walk into a wall, you know something's going on, listen to that guy's phone. And if you got a chain of terrorists that you're studying and you need to listen to their phones, listen to their phones. But if a guy just likes to can peaches and he owns a couple of 9mm and an AR, you want to listen to his phone? Hey, man, fuck you.
Wait, did you see where this was last week or maybe the week before last? They were talking about how they had TSA air marshals following people that were in D.C., not even at the Capitol, but they were in D.C. during January 6th. So they've just been following these people around the United States. Have you seen this?
What?
Yeah, they were saying they don't have the resources over the Thanksgiving travel period to staff the security needs from the airlines because they had people that were air marshals, I believe, and I'm scrolling through this, following people that were just in D.C. They weren't even like implemented in anything. It was wild, dude.
What do they follow him for? What's the purpose?
I don't know. I think there's a level of intrusiveness in the government that is just, at some point, we have to say it's unacceptable. Like, I think obviously this is a long podcast. We don't need to like take down the temperature just yet, but I think, man, I don't quite understand why they want that level of surveillance activity around people that quite literally might have only been in D.C. during that time period.
I think the amount of pressure that they're putting on people to let them know that if there's ever anything like this again, this is what's going to happen.
Right.
Everyone's going to jail.
Yeah.
People that shouldn't go to jail are going to jail. If the cops let you in the door and they give you a tour, you're going to jail. Like, we're going to call it a violent insurrection, and everyone's going to jail. And we're going to let you in. We're going to open up the barricades, and we're going to have federal agents in the audience encouraging you to go into the house. And then when we're under oath, we're going to say we can't answer whether or not federal agents were inciting people to go into the Capitol.
Like, how ethically inappropriate do you think everything about that is?
It's
like,
so
dude,
bad.
it is so bad.
It's so bad.
Yeah.
If this was happening from the right, if this was Trump doing this, people would be losing their shit.
You
should be losing your shit if it happens in any political party. This is wild.
It's wild. I think, I don't know, and I'm not by any stretch of the imagination going to fix it, but I think, the Bill of Rights is so important. And for people to understand what it means and clearly differentiate between, okay, this is states, this is federal, why are these things so important? Individual liberty comes with responsibility. Like, that's the other piece to this. It's like, you and I love freedom. Like, to be fair, it's quite literally my favorite thing. Like,
it's pretty
if I can have
awesome.
more, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, you can never have too much, I don't think. Like,
no,
I don't think so. Because I'm going to take accountability. I'm going to be responsible for my actions. I'm not going to mess with other people. I'm not going to impede on their ability to pursue happiness because I'm responsible. But I think, that's me, that's you. I think there's a whole other side of the country. They're like, hey, I don't want any responsibility for this. It's just too much for me.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is so important because I think freedom without responsibility is what everyone's scared of.
Yeah.
When people talk about gun violence or they talk about crime or what you're talking about is freedom without responsibility. Even illegal immigration, it's freedom without responsibility. And accountability and responsibility and like having things that you have to do is what we need more of. That's what we need more of. You want to have more freedom? We definitely should have more freedom. But we should also have more people that are taking care of their life. They have their shit together.
Right.
So what we should be doing instead of trying to take away freedom, try giving people the tools that they need to be more accountable and to do it better in their life and to get their fucking shit together. Like, that should be the number one emphasis, not taking away your rights because some people can't handle it.
Right.
There's just...
Well, and that equals everything, right? So then it's like, we'll say the highly motivated people that will live their life with virtue and courage and pursue all of what I would say is Western philosophic like principles. I think we collectively can be trusted with that responsibility. But then you have that other piece that's saying, I don't want to have anything to do with that. I'd rather have a safe, secure existence without any accountability or responsibility.
Yeah.
I 100% agree. That's why and this isn't like, it's not meant to be like over complimentary, but I think that's so, this show and other people like you and Jocko and Cam and Jordan, whomever else that's out there in the ecosystem, you guys are putting really good information out into the world, saying like, I was to reference your podcast with Lex that you did maybe like a year ago. He was asking you straight up advice. Like, how do you make yourself better? How do you be a better person? You're answering, saying, hey, this is what worked for me. Well, you're obviously successful. You should be propagating that out into the country, into the world, having men and women, everybody else saying, fuck yeah, I'm going to take more accountability. I'm going to be more responsible for my life. I'm going to live radically free because that's fucking cool.
That is what people who live in cities don't like. Because if you're living in a city and you're in an apartment building and you're an urbanist, you think yourself an urban. So you have a scarf and you're going to get your latte and maybe you're getting an Uber or you're hopping in the subway. Like, what you like is infrastructure.
Yeah.
You like everything to be set up for you. Oh, we have dinner at the Italian restaurant at 7:30. Great. You go over there, you eat food that someone else prepared. You get a glass of wine that someone else grew the grapes. You're not doing shit other than consuming. and this is what you enjoy. We're going to go to the play. We're going to go to the opera. We're going to go see a film. Oppenheimer's out. We're going to go home. Oh, this person is at the fucking comedy club. Let's go see that.
Yeah.
Let's go, let's constantly consume. And those people, people say, no, you need to get in shape and you need to start eating well. Like, whoa. I'm not interested in this. At all. I want someone to wipe my ass. I have a seat on the toilet that sprays water up my ass, so I barely have to wipe anymore. It just hoses my ass down. I press buttons. I go to sleep. I take an Ambien. I go to sleep. I wake up in the morning. I go to Starbucks.
Yeah.
Man. I can clap. I can clap normally. Man. Rogan still got it. Take that, those of you who think he's controlled opposition. He's talking some stuff right there. When people are controlled, believe you me, they're not saying stuff like that. They're just not. It's not a part of the program. And I love that he was talking about it, because recently, this is all I've been thinking about, is how I can get self-sufficient, how I can buy land away from people who have homeowners associations so I can do what I want and grow what I need to grow and have the animals that I want to have. Because that little part of life that he just said, I love that. I love doing that. I love going to the restaurant and sitting down and this and that, and the wife is happy and blah, blah, blah. I like all that. But I know that that's not how it's supposed to be. I know that's not what's best for my mind and my body and my family. I know it's not best. I know it's not. And it's so hard to break away from all the comfortability. So I'm definitely not downing anybody that's like that right now, because I'm still in it. Still in it. The thought of having to, do your own chicken, and that's a lot. You got to do that to your own cattle. Like, it's a lot. Having the hunt, I keep thinking about it. I'm going to go on my first hunt within the next 12 months, and I'm going to be there, and it's going to be cold, and I'm going to have to be down, and it's going to be hard. It's going to be rough. Definitely can't be wearing this yellow hat. Going to have to be it's going to be rough, but it's so necessary. So necessary. The things that they touched on just now, especially when he touched on the Bill of Rights, I was highlighting the everything. I stopped at the 4th, and it keeps going, and you should read it. You should read it, and you should read it often. Not so you can hold people to it, because I think that's what a lot of people do. It's so you can hold yourself to it, because within that, right? Within that, there's a lot of responsibility on yourself, as there should be. Because when the responsibility is all on you, the freedom is all on you to have, the sovereignty is all on you. And that warning that he gave, Joe doesn't look at the screen often. What I'm doing right now, Joe doesn't do that. But that's when you know he's serious. When he's like, listen, kids, keep that energy. It's so true. It's so true. And it's not in a violent against the man type of way. It's just, so many times, like how many times when you're sick do you start doing everything to feel better? You're like, okay, let me get some echinacea. Okay, I got tissues. All right, I need some tea. Okay, I need lemon in the tea, ginger in the tea. Okay, let me do that. Let me get the soup. And it's like, you could have been doing that all along. And then you go outside and you're all wrapped up and you're doing everything you have to do. It's like, you could have done that all along. But for some reason, we only act when we're getting the 8 ball. We're behind the 8 ball. All of a sudden now it's like, okay, let's get it all together. And it's like, you may not have time. And I like that he brought up Israel, because those people didn't have time. You would think in a place like that everybody would be completely prepared to the gills. You would think they'd have something right by the door, but they didn't. None of them did. And it was horrible for a lot of them, Take the politics out of it and blah, blah, blah. It was a bunch of people who were unprepared. And I'm not even saying getting prepared like that, because when I was pulling up these little, this website here, when I was showing this, I don't know if you noticed, when I was pulling this up, this has nothing to do with, weapon or anything. This is just Mike Glover's responsible citizen first aid. And this is $0. If you're in Utah, January 2024 on the 24th, if you're in Utah, that's free. That's free. The guy has a massive amount of experience. He's worked with guys. Tim Kennedy's gone to war. He's done all sorts of things. It's free. You know, all of his stuff's not free. He has a website. It's called fieldcraftsurvival.com. I think it's .com. It might be .org. Just write in Mike Glover. You'll find it. And he's just doing stuff like this. And it's like none of us take this into mind that we should know this stuff. And he's just showing people, again, he's not doing any weird, violent, malicious stuff. It's just first aid, teaching people how to, like, you know, if somebody's bleeding, teaching them how to, like, cut it off. And what's it called? The tourniquet? I don't even know what it's called. You see what I mean? I'm unprepared too. And it's like we should just be prepared. It's not a bad thing. But how many of us really are? What was that article? 66% of Americans don't feel fully prepared for natural disasters, and 45% don't know if their insurance will cover things. And that's just natural disasters. Look at these rates here. Working flashlight. Like 90% have a working flashlight. How many have a generator? 27%. I don't even know the first thing about getting a generator. I'll be honest with you. I know I could just buy it on, but I don't know which one to buy or anything like that. First aid, 79%. And that's surprising to me. I don't have one of those, and I should. 3 days of water set aside. What? The fact that listen, bravo to that 63%, because I'm definitely not in that 63%. Non-perishable foods, not really, because I have this whole food diet that I'm on, that I don't have anything that would just sit inside a cupboard long term. Radio, emergency evaluation kit, 33%. I fall under all of this. I don't have any of these things. Maybe first aid. Maybe my wife has one and I don't know about it. That's all I can think of. But man, there's a lot there. And you got to think about that. Again, I've been thinking about it a lot. I've been thinking about hunting. I've been thinking about land and how is all this going to get taken care of? And the answer is it's not. It's not going to just get taken care of. It's something that I actually have to actively work towards. But for those of you that do it, myself, it's way better in the long run, because if anything does happen, you have that sovereignty. I made an episode about this before where Tim Kennedy was talking about the difference between freedom and sovereignty. And sovereignty is when you actually have the ability that when someone comes in between you and the thing, let's just say the grocery store for any odd reason, right? They say you can't go to the grocery store unless XYZ. And you say, well, I don't actually need to go to the grocery. I don't need anything from there. Everything I have, my house, my land actually provides all of that for me. That's sovereignty. You know, freedom is the freedom to go to any grocery store and do whatever you got to do, or choose not to go. Sovereignty is when you don't have to listen to somebody telling you that you have to do something in order to access something. And sovereignty is the key. And going back to what Evan said about the Bill of Rights, the Bill of Rights is, everybody feels like that's all about freedom, but it's really about sovereignty, you know, really about sovereignty. The second to protect the first, that's sovereignty right there. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comments of everything Rogan's saying. I know some of you are still going to be like, listen, he's a Satanist. He's controlled opposition. I get it. There'll always be those people. I got no problem with that. I love a fun conspiracy. You know what I mean? I won't even say conspiracy. I love a fun thought process. I love to think about things like that. So I understand completely. But let me know in the comments what you think about it. Again, I am CoachColin.com. Check it on out. We got a lot of cool stuff, and there's going to be even more in the future. And other than that, I'm out. Like, subscribe.